Hello, quilters. I'm putting on the chat. Getting all set up. I'm happy to be back this week. Very sorry to have missed you last week. I was not well. I was having some very serious back problems, but I'm doing today is a really nice day. So hello, how are you? I hope you're having a wonderfully quilty Tuesday, unless you are on the other side of the world and are looking forward to Wednesday. It might be Wednesday in Australia. Not sure. So I have everything I wanted to tell you last week, as well as everything I wanted to tell you. Well, hello. Thank you. Let's see. Thank you for the love of my fish. I love them too. Um, I am feeling a little bit better. Yes, yesterday was not good. Today's quite a good day. So I even made my bed, which was pretty exciting. Normally, I just stay in my chair and wheel around. I have a really nice ergonomic office chair that I quilt in, but my husband and I've replaced parts of it because it's a very expensive chair. I got it at auction for just a couple $100, but it's like a $1,200-$1,300 chair. My husband replaced the wheels with rollerblade wheels was an option. So it doesn't get all the thread tangles, doesn't scratch the floor at all, moves really well. So I'm just kind of spinning around in my desk chair. Let's see. And you're loving the fish. I love the fish. I love the fish. The fish are great. I knew from the first time I wanted to do animals that I was going to do fish because I'd made a quilt similar to that for my daughter. It wasn't made out of color blocks, but it was a fish quilt like that. And when I was quilting it, I was in the chair, but I was really in a lot of pain. I'm quilting it, and I'm like, this is ugly. This is terrible. I'm quilting it on the bias, so there's a couple puckers in it because the quilt didn't lay flat. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm going to hate it. And I think that was my back pain talking because I absolutely love it. I wanted to do one thing with it, couldn't do it, had to do something else. So that quilt, I needed that win. And when I looked at it the next day when I was done, I'm like, oh my word, this is gorgeous. And I'm going to do this more often. So I might look forward to more quilting like that. And if those swirls are hard for you, put a stencil of swirls and then do the background quilting. So loving the fish. Let's see. It's hot, hot, hot in South Carolina. I'm sorry, I was just checking the temperature here, which isn't showing up on my watch. Still not showing up on my watch. Anyway, I'm sorry it's hot. I hope your air conditioner is very, very good. I am on a lot of steroids, so I honestly don't know what the temperature is because I'm bursting into flames. But it's a steroid thing to help my back, and I'm just warm all the time. And it's rainy and kind of humid, so it's gonna be hot. It's my own personal summer, whether or not we're having one. So good to hear. Quite a good day. Thank you. I am a big girl now. I was able to get out of bed by myself and shower and put on clothes and shoes all by myself because we all know Super Hubby is awesome and is very, very helpful. And he knows how bad my back is and that I do what I can, but a lot of times I can't. Hello, Cindy in rainy Boston. Yes, we tend to have the same weather. Yeah, it's a really gross day here. But the upside to all the steroids I'm on, not feeling it because steroids are an anti-inflammatory and are taking away the general arthritis pain, which is nice. And I hope everybody else is doing okay. We don't often get people on the feed from First Run from Hawaii, but I do just want to mention my heart is just broken for Hawaii. It's a place I've never been, always wanted to go. I know I've taught several quilters there, met many quilters. But if anyone knows of any relief efforts going on, I mean, I've already done financial donations, but if anyone knows of any quilting relief, anything like that, let me know and I'll send it out to everybody if you know of any of things like that. I have sent quilts to Hawaii before for friends who live there and such. And I'll tell you what works really well is the United States Postal Service priority prepaid boxes, because if it fits, it ships. So if I take this prepaid box that if it wasn't a prepaid box, it would have been, $40. And I think I got it there for like 18 bucks. So if you do end up shipping something to Hawaii, look into USPS prepaid boxes. If it fits, it ships priority mailbox. Glad I'm not in pain. No, I'm not in pain. Can't feel my leg and I still fall, but that's okay. I have a cane. I have a walker. Life is beautiful. And I've gotten some quilting done to the point that I injured myself. I was moving my quilt and I got snagged on the needle, and my skin is paper thin, and just was bleeding forever. And I'm working on a white quilt. So pretty wildflower bandages I was able to pick up recently. So it was pretty exciting. So let's see what I have new to talk to you about. I'll start with what I should have said last week whenever I was actually at urgent care while I was supposed to be talking to you. Let's see. There's a quilt shop on Maui that's saying they're collecting quilts to distribute to those in need. Okay. I will look into it. But if anyone has direct information, again, send it to me. I can send it out to, I don't know, about 3,000 or 4,000 people right away in a newsletter. So happy to do that. Let me share my screen to talk about the quilt. And I'm sending all these quilts out. A lot of the quilts I'm making now are gift quilts. This quilt here, hope you can see that. This quilt here is the dorm quilt from last week. I quilted it with one of my ABC stencils, and I love that there is a spiral in the middle of each block. That just made me really, really, really happy. I loved the thread about it. And this is for a cousin's child who's a ball player, going to play ball at college, kind of tall. So this is a big quilt for one of those extra long twin beds that they have in college dorms. These are the school colors, and these are the half square triangles that you get from leftover blocks from making color blocks. So these are cut, they are trimmed to 6 inches square. That marking is on the right triangle ruler, the color blocks ruler, but you can just trim it to 6 inches square. And then I pulled out every red block I had because I've made a lot of red quilts. I like red. I have 2 blocks left. You could make it smaller, but this was a really simple way to set this quilt using all of my red blocks, and it came out at a great size. Another thing I want to point out is that stencil. I've used stencils for you several times where I line them up in rows. This time I put it in borders. So I showed how I turn a border with the spiral. So I had some really intricate quilting plans that I was going to do loop-de-loops and background quilting and then ruler work in the yellow blocks, the golden blocks, and all of that. And then this quilt was huge. And before my back went out, my back started to go out. I was starting to fall on Sunday. So I was like, let's just do what's easy. So I did something easy. This went really quickly. And I'm real happy with it. So hopefully that gave you an idea of what to do with some of your bonus squares from your color block, half square triangles, and also gave you an idea of some easy quilting to do. And let me go down. So that's the whole quilt. One thing I did on this quilt that I want to mention is this had blue powder all over it, but I didn't feel like washing it. I threw it in the dryer with a wet towel. Like I took a hand towel and wetted it, not damp, wet. Threw it in the dryer with my wool dryer balls, and all the chalk came off. So that was fabulous. And then I think I got a delivery this morning of my graduation card that I had ordered for him. So I will ship this out tomorrow. So here you can see the chalk is gone. All the chalk that was all over the black. There's a little bit of thread there. But again, super, super happy with how this quilt turned out. Let me come back and say hi to you. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to write that down. I'm seeing the Maui Quilt Shop. 18 Central Avenue in Waialuku. I'm just writing this all down. Waialuku, Hawaii 96793. Great. Thank you for that. Let's see. I got a hello. Better late, and hello in Shahola, Pennsylvania. I'm guessing you might be rainy too. Every night I get a weather report from my mother, who lives in Pittsburgh, which for people who don't live in Pennsylvania and New York, is about 400 miles from me, and it's about 1 day's worth of weather. So if it rains on Monday morning at her house, it might rain on Tuesday morning at my house. So I get the weather report from her every night when I talk to her. So I know you're getting rain off and on. She was trying to figure out what the baseball games were delayed and such, even though the Pirates were playing here. So that was last week's quilt, was that dorm quilt. I'm probably not the only person who sends quilts off to college. And I also don't make the best quilts ever for college kids. My quilts are comfort quilts when somebody's sick. They're graduation quilts. And they are baby quilts. So somebody's throwing up on my quilts because the stomach flu goes around in colleges. My daughter, her quilt was in the splash zone. Her roommate had a party while she was gone. So yeah, the quilts are going to be laundered. I make them to wash and dry. Let's see. Did I change thread colors on the swirls? If I didn't change colors, it does not show. I did not. I used my tan thread, one of my top 10 favorite threads, and I think it's called beige. I used that through the whole thing. If you go into the color blocks class, I always put what color thread I used above the video. So look just above the video, it'll say materials. I'll tell you what tools I used, what thread color I used. I believe it's beige through the whole thing. So yeah, let's go back and take a look at that. Yeah, when I went to pick the thread, I thought that the gold, so I could have quilted with my go-to yellow. I could have quilted this in black, which would have been really fun for you to look at on video. This is beige, this is beige, and this is beige. And it was on the red, white, gold, and actually it's scarlet and gold are the school colors. And then black and white, one thread color to rule them all. Whenever I first started quilting, I used to do 16, 18, 20 different threads on a quilt to make sure I had the thread that matched it perfectly. And now I don't care. I actually like seeing a consistent thread color throughout. It makes it easier for me to quilt. It's just a real pleasant experience. And I've discovered nobody cares. It doesn't show. And right now, quilting is my best medicine. I apologize. Lots of steroids, talking fast. Just pray for my husband. I tend to lock myself in here while he's out there to give the poor man a break because of this. But I'm quilting right now, but I'm not getting out of my chair very often. I'm not, running to do this, running to do that. I have a book on my headphones that is about 80 hours long. So give me a quilt where I can just sit and quilt and listen to my book, and I'll have a great time. Now, the book's not great, but it's one I've always intended to read. It's the Gulag Archipelago. So yeah, it's very uplifting. I'm going to have to read like children's books and fairy tales when I'm done with that, just to recover. So let's see the next thing. This was done last week, but I didn't get the editing done and I couldn't sit in a chair to edit it. So the next thing got posted this week. And this is for my As the Bobbin Turns members. As the Bobbin Turns is my subscriber area video. I put out a lot of free content and I'm really happy to do so. I've never been upset with myself for being generous. But people have asked how can they financially support me? So I have a subscriber area where you join, and I have it as a class. When you join the class, you get all the content that's in there, and more content goes in a couple times a month. So if you joined a year ago, there's more content now. You can join monthly or annually. Whenever I've released classes in the past, actually, let me come back and say hi to you. whenever I've released classes in the past, I've released them, let everyone watch them for free for a week, and did them live. My health has changed over the last several years that I can't make a commitment to do that every week. So what I decided to do could be just because my back's going to go or my lungs are going to go, like it's been a year. And we're not done yet. So I'm not complaining. My life is beautiful. My life sitting in this chair is better than most people's lives up and dancing. So no complaints. But I'm putting out the lessons as I make them into my subscriber group so that they can be my test subjects. So they can go look at everything, let me know if there's typos, let me know if it makes sense. Like I already know the video in there, half the video cut out. So I will be refilming the video and adding more in. But I'm going to put it in there. And then once the class is completely done and everyone who's a subscriber has already seen it, then I will publish the class and other people can buy it. So it's going to be in a long beta through my students in my subscriber area. It's called As the Bobbin Turns, dramatic machine quilting without the drama or something like that. I have it set up as a class where you just buy a class and you can subscribe monthly or annually and it just renews. And whatever price you buy it at, it will renew at that price. So if the price goes up and you're still paying $5 a month from the original sale, it won't go up from that, which is nice. So here is what went in the class this week. Wrong button I pressed. Again, apologies for the steroids. So this spiral, for those of you who are not subscribers, how to quilt this spiral was covered in Color Blocks 2021 January. So you can go watch this lesson for free. The second lesson, however, is not in there. So, but this lesson anybody can get. I am behind baby quilts and random gift quilts. So I have decided to make 10 of this quilt and do 10 different types of spirals, different variations, and show you how they're done. This pattern is the free pattern in January 2021. It's called Suitable for Framing. And this is pink for my second cousin's grandchild. So this is going to my second cousin twice removed. Anyway, Emmeline. And it was a really fun quilt, and I quilted it with really fun pink thread, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Now, as far as making since I'm giving the quilts away, I am also quilting a plain one on just a yard of white fabric so that it's easier for you to see on the video. You will not be watching me film the pieced quilt. You'll be watching me film on the plain just because it's easier to see. And lesson number 2 is already done. It's not posted, but it's already done. So that's what's in As the Bobbin Turns this week. Does that work for you that that I'll put the class out once it's completed? Because I know I got some pushback before whenever I was giving lessons free. People got confused that they had to sign in every week. And they're like, but you didn't give the whole class away. I'm like, no, I give one lesson away free a week. And then I take it back. And they're like, well, that's not fair. I'm like, it's my content. I can do that. And I just thought it would be too confusing if I have to keep taking time off due to illness, just in case. So I'm just trying to keep things simplest for everybody. So that is new content this week in As the Bobbin Turns. And your new color block content this week. Oh, sorry, I just got a message here. Hello, you're late, but better late than never. I'm so glad you're here. You're right on time. We're about to talk about the fish. So let's go see the fish. The quilt is called Back to School. It is a free pattern in Color Blocks 2023. Color Blocks Goes Wild. Now, in my First Steps to Free Motion Quilting class, I could have stitched, I did stitch elements in there. I showed you how to quilt elements, I believe. And I could have just used that as a great water texture, but I've already taught that. So why would I do that? And then I could have done a horizontal water texture, just like ripples in a clear pond. I really do a lot of research into designs and such to see what I'm going to quilt. I don't know, something struck me. I decided to work with waves and then spaces between them. When I was quilting it, I was barely sitting up in a chair, and I was quilting just to try to ignore back pain. And if you have back pain, you understand. Now, this is all on the bias because the blocks are put in on point. So there was a little extra fullness. I don't know if you can see it right there. I have a little puckering in the top of my quilt. And I was beating myself up heartily, like heartily about that. As I'm quilting, I'm like, this is terrible. I'm going to hate this quilt. I'm ruining this whole quilt. I should just throw it away and start over. Yeah, I was being very mean to myself. And I know none of you have ever said any of these things to yourselves while quilting. Things I want to point out. My lines are not straight. Look, that one's going quite diagonal. That one's kind of straight. There's a big fat pucker right here. I've got some fat swirls, some small swirls. The quilt is not perfect, but the response I've gotten to this quilt is amazing because it's the overall effect you're looking at. So I'm only showing you my imperfections so that when you look at your quilt, you can give yourself a break, let it sit, look at it again the next day and say, hey, that looks really cool and I like it. So that's my fish quilt. Let me come back and say hi. You love the waves and how I did it. Thank you. I do too. But it felt to me like a consolation prize because I couldn't come up with anything I wanted to do. Again, I was in a bad mood because my back hurt, like a lot. And I don't make the best decisions. I'm hypercritical of myself. I've already apologized to my husband for what my face or body might say to him or mouth might say to him because I'm on a lot of steroids, which can make you angry. And I've been on steroids since I've had COVID. I can't get off of them, but I'm on a lot right now. Plus pain. So I'm like, I am so sorry if I snap, honey. I'm trying not to. So there's another quilt I've quilted where I couldn't figure out the perfect thing to quilt, so I just went with something, and then I fell in love with it, and it's the Picnic Patch wedding quilt that I always do, that I'm quilting again right now. And I was beating myself up because I hadn't come up with something perfect for the quilt, and I did the same thing on this fish quilt, and it turned out it was perfect. So I'm going to be playing around more with stripes of quilting with variations in between them because I love that. Love it. Waves are never the same, ever. Exactly. In the How to Quilt This video, I was like, no one has ever looked at an ocean and said, wow, the waves are so pretty. They're so symmetrical. They're not. They're not. And they're pretty because they're not. And that quilt is great. You love it. Thank you. I do too. Hated it. And now I love it. And I think I love it even more because of how much I hated it while I was making it. So it's even better. And again, I tell you this because I go through it too, crippling self-doubt, things like that. None of you ever go through that when you're quilting. So let me show what else is going on. Oh, that quilt was quilted with my lamb thread, which I'm using right now. It is that cream, tan, and gray off-white looking thread because blue looked too blue, green looked too green, and I go through lamb like water. Pun not intended. And I just got a shipment of lamb yesterday. So I have spools and cones of lamb on my website. They're all full up. And that is the 50 weight 2D thread. It is variegated cream, tan, and gray. And I have full inventory of that. But what did I do on the back of this quilt? Baby shark, do 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 do. And the reason I'm showing you this is I used this as a backing and I put the rest of the bolts on sale for $6 a yard. It should be on the front page of my website in my $6 fabric. And if it's not, put shark in the search box on the top left. I love the sharks. And I'm also working on a whale quilt. I'm going through and finishing up old color blocks that never got quilted. I'm finishing up gift quilts that I need. I'm finishing up new content. And I decided that I'm pulling out quilts that were already started. And I had one block of this made. And I have a daughter-in-law who loves whales. So every once in like, I'm not making this right now because there's a lot of cutting and fussiness and I'm doing more easy stuff. But you'll be seeing more whales. This is, whose pattern is this? Is this Elizabeth Hartman or somebody? It's wonderful. It's the lady who does all the animal stuff. I love her stuff. So that's my whales. Let's see, a few other things I wanted to talk to you about. I have a list. So I've been quilting. So this is a spool of quilting thread that I finished. Yay! A spool of quilting thread that I finished, and a spool of piecing thread that I finished. Traveling around as much as I did, teaching at quilt shows, I get goodie bags, and I got tons and tons and tons of free thread. And I just piece with whatever I have to use up. So this was an Aurifil cotton 50 weight. And it was, is this a 50 weight? Yes. So this was an Aurifil 50 weight, which is lovely for piecing. And then I think I used Deco Bob in the bobbin. Lovely thread. And I'm going to finish up another spool of thread this week. I don't know why that makes me so happy. Speaking of finishing, on the bad days, my husband can get me up and into this chair in the morning. And then I have to wait till the heat packs kick in and the meds kick in to get the back moving. While I'm doing that, I'm cutting up fabric. This box right here is all of the scrap fabric I have left. I've cut every last bit of this into 2.5 inch squares, boxes and boxes and boxes of them. So I have no shortage of color blocks. And if you're worried that there won't be color block next year, there will. Probably be color blocks the year after because I have cases of these things. And I have a little rolling cart that is it's like a nice, it's IKEA. So it's metal mesh that has 3 drawers in it. And I keep my sewing threads, my piecing threads in there. It sits next to my sewing machine. I keep my tools in there. And on the top of it, I lay out 16 piles of color block squares. And that is my leader and ender project. So I've made about 80 gray squares so far. Don't think I have any more gray fabric in here, but I do still have more to cut up. What would it be like to have this box be empty? This is my very last box. My goal is every time I finish a quilt is to cut up all the scraps from that quilt plus something else out of the box. So this eventually is empty. Does anybody have no scraps? Like none, like no scraps? Because you're my hero and I want to be like you. It just feels like something is big and undone when I have this big pile of quilts. Sorry, I mean scraps. So I'm looking forward to finishing that. So those are some wonderful things I did. Been cutting fabric because it was cathartic. And just one last shout out to my amazing husband who is fabulous and takes care of everything. So for those of you who follow me on my cooking Instagram account, I do cook sometimes, even while I'm seated. You know, I have counter height chairs and such, but also I cook ahead and put, there's only 2 of us. So if I cook a big meal, I put half in the freezer so that we don't have to eat leftovers for a month. We'll just have a whole new dinner later on. This has been a great week to pull a lot of those out. Just pull it out and everything can either go in the toaster oven because I have a toaster oven that fits an 8x8 or in the microwave or Instapot or Crock-Pot or something, because I don't turn my oven on again until fall. So, you're still seeing cooking, but I do that from the seated position. Let's see. Your scraps are all over. Mine were. I had boxes and boxes and bags and cases and boxes and boxes and bags. And then since I was sprung from the house for the pandemic, I've been back and forth taking care of my mom to give my sister a break, and I just take a cutting board with me. So I've cut most of these scraps at my sister's kitchen table. And I've been talking to her because she's checking to see how my back's doing. We talk about mom and stuff. And I'm like, I'm cutting it and there's no scraps going all over your kitchen. I have to sweep my house instead of hers. Um, so she misses it. Let's see. Someone is number 61 on the waiting list for the Tress book at your library. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I love his work. Actually, there's some books laying down on my mantle. Those are some Brandon Sanderson books. He does young adult series, it's kind of fantasy, like superhero war stuff. He finished the Wheel of Time series. The family of the author handed him the unfinished 3 manuscripts and he finished them. I'm a huge fan. What happened? I knew that this was coming, that he wrote 4 secret books that weren't going through his regular publisher, and he put them out on a Kickstarter campaign, and he broke Kickstarter. He raised $14 million for special publications. I didn't sign in for it, so I have to wait for them at the library. I mean, you can buy the books too, but I didn't get in on any of the Kickstarter stuff. This book was written for his wife, and it's what would happen if the princess went to rescue the prince, like in The Princess Bride. It was wonderful. I love his sense of humor. I love his writing style. And since he raised $14 million on Kickstarter, I'm not the only one. So if he's a new author to you, welcome. Carol, it's worth the wait. It really is. I didn't get the book at the library. It was downloadable audio. So that was a fun one to listen to. I do have the second one downloadable from the library as well. And they don't have the third one. I might have to actually, I think I can buy it on Audible. Anyway, I have a lot of Audible credits. So maybe I'll read that once I'm done with, the Gulag Archipelago, which is a really up with people kind of book. 80 hours of torture and misery in the society. Just a book I've always wanted to read. You're waiting for the download. Oh my word. My library system has 2 different types of downloads. One, we have Hoopla, and if it's in there, you just get it. 100 people can get it at once. We also have Overdrive, where they only give out a copy or 2 and you have to wait for it. This was on Hoopla, so I got lucky. Hopefully people will return it quickly. I know I do return my books as soon as I'm done. Even though they say, it'll return automatically. Yeah, Overdrive, that takes forever. I'm sorry. Hopefully people return the books quickly. So I am going to go finish quilting and filming and making new content and not chatter all over you with all of my steroid energy. I'm going to be going in for more steroid injections. So seriously, pray for my husband. It's kind of like having 20 cups of espresso, and I'm chatty to start with. So the poor man. Thanks for being patient with me when I took a week off. I plan to be back next week. More content, more stuff online, more social media. Keep in touch. Show me what you're doing. And I hope you're well. And I hope quilting is curing whatever might be ailing you. I will be back again tomorrow night. We're going to talk about my quilt binding class. So bring your machine quilting questions and your binding questions. I will be in Debbie Brown's Machine Quilting Studio Facebook group, as well as on YouTube. Love my steroid energy. Could you type that any faster? Porga. Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm going to stop talking now. Happy quilting, everyone. I'll be back again tomorrow night.